Hi everybody, welcome to Season 1, Episode 5 of Nightcap with a True Crime Recap. I'm your host, Dominish Miller. I just want to take a second to thank everybody. With 4 episodes in 18 days, we have reached 100 downloads of this podcast, so that's tracking really well. So I'm really excited about the future of this podcast. Today we're going back to the Bald Hills and we're going to talk about a police officer's murder. So this is in May of 1929 in the Bald Hills of Newberry Township. York policeman slain, make an arrest. York, PA, May 21st, 1929, from the Associated Press. State and county police are scouring the Bald Hills in the northern part of York County for the murder of Curtis D. Sowers, North York police officer and deputy sheriff, who was killed by a shot fired from ambush while he was assisting in the arrest of alleged cattle thieves tonight. The shot which killed Sowers came through the window at the farm of Samuel Troop. Now, I'm not sure if this is pronounced Troop or Troup. Different articles have different spellings. This particular article has T-R-O-U-P, and another article has T-R-O-U-P-E, but for our purposes today, I'm going to say Troop. Where the officer and the 3 others had gone to arrest 2 of Troop's sons, Jacob 30 and William 22. With Sowers at the time were Caleb Otlin and Benjamin F. Imenheiser, constables, and Raymond Betzel. After the shooting, the other 3 officers left the place to secure help. In the meantime, the occupants of the Troop home fled, and when the officers arrived, only a young woman remained. The girl is being questioned. The next article. Titan lines of manhunt in York Mountains. Jacob Troop accused of murdering patrolman hiding in the hills. 36 hours after Jacob Troop, 30 years old, Bald Hills farmer, fled into the mountains armed with the pump gun after the alleged murder of Curtis Sowers, North York motorcycle policeman, the lines of the manhunt were tightening in North York County. Troop so far has eluded capture and has not been seen by the posse searching for him. Reports that Troop had been seen near the Mason-Dixon line were discounted by authorities as information from all the sections of the county came to the headquarters. The district attorney's office and York County coroner, who, with Corporal Snyder, state police, are in charge of the hunt, believe that Troop, when he is caught, will be found within a mile of his home, where Sowers has been murdered Tuesday night. Hundreds join in the search. 100 men, mainly of them mountains, like the hunted man, are engaged in the greatest search known in this section. Aroused by the brutality of the murder, reinforcements are constantly joining the large band in the hunt. New plans that will end in Troop's capture were laid at the conference between the officers early today in York. A systematic search of every acre of the rough section around Bald Hills, described as one of the wildest in the section of the state, will be made. Little bands of men, grim of face, are searching through the brush, guarding roads into the section where Troop is said to be, and questioning residents of the Bald Hills mountain country. Recall threats. Troop had threatened to kill the first officer that came to arrest him before the slaying of Sowers. It was revealed today. He had placed 2 loaded shotguns near him and told members of his family, "The authorities say, I'll shoot the first policeman I see around the house." Sowers was killed while he stood at the rear door of the Troop house, a ramshackle structure deep in the almost inaccessible Bald Hills section. He had gone there with 3 other officers to arrest Troop on a charge of calf stealing. While 2 men, C.W. Otlin, constable, and B.F. Eisenheiser, constable, went to the front door to serve the warrant, A.E. Betzel and Sowers went to the rear. It was while Otlin and Eisenheiser tried to get into the front that Troop attempted to escape by the rear and Sowers was shot. No inquest into the killing of Sowers has been fixed by Coroner L.U. Zach, York County. Slayer looting police posses in York Hills, sought for alleged murder of motorcycle patrolmen. After a night and a day of fruitless searching through the hilly region of Upper York County for Jacob Troop 30, alleged slayer of Curtis D. Sowers 35, North York motorcycle policeman, state police plan to have a pack of bloodhounds put on his trail by nightfall. Although scores of men, mostly farmers, in the clannish community in which Troop lived, searched with the police through the night and day, no trace of him was found from the time he fled into the darkness from his home, where Sowers fell dead, killed almost instantly from the pump gun fired into his face from a distance of approximately 3 feet. Troop is the second murder suspect at large in central Pennsylvania mountains. State troopers have not yet given up hope of capturing George Wisner, 20, Tower City, charged with the murder of his brother William, 31, on the night of March 18th at their home. Sowers, accompanied by 3 other officers, had gone there to arrest Troop for calf stealing. The house had been surrounded. Troop attempted to escape. Sowers told Troop to halt and then fell before a volley from a 12-gauge pump gun. Sowers died instantly. Troop fired into the night, and today, after the arrest of 5 stepbrothers and sisters and a friend, Norman Weir, Dover, the manhunt in the York County hills is continuing with the state police, citizens in York County and city combining forces. Hatless and coatless. Troop is hatless and coatless, attired only in greasy overalls. He is described as having blonde hair, weighing 150 pounds and standing 5 feet 7 inches in height. He is armed with a pump gun. The authorities believed his capture is only a matter of hours. Hold relatives. Virgie, Hazel, and Walter Troop, stepsisters and a brother of the hunted man, were arrested by state police last night at the farmhouse where Sowers was killed. Charles Troop, 22, and William Troop, 24, also stepbrothers, were arrested by the York police in York early today. Information that calves were being stolen from the farms near Lewisberry and were being run to Hummelstown to be sold was placed before Justice of the Peace Charles Baker, Emmetsville, by Albert Toomey, Yoakumtown, asking for Troop's arrest. The warrant was held by Otling, constable of the Manchester Township, while Sowers, Constable Benjamin Imenheiser, and Raymond E. Betzel, a friend of Sowers, accompanied Otling to the location, the farm at Bald Hills, last night. The quartet divided, Betzel and Sowers going to the rear, while Otling, with the warrants, Eisenheimer, entered the front of the house. They were playing cards. A group of persons were seated in the front room playing cards when Eisenheiser and Otling entered, Jacob Troop being in the number. Sowers and Betzel remained outside the house at the rear. The warrant was read. Troop arose from the table without a word and went into the side room. He stayed there a minute, an officer say, and then started out the rear door of the house. "Come on, we got you covered." "We're not going to shoot," Sowers told Troop. Shots fired, Sowers falls. Troop made no answer, but a shot was fired and Sowers fell. Eisenheiser and Otling came from the front of the house, finding that Sowers was dead, and they hurried to the farmhouse of Philip Peel, adjoining the Troop farm, and called the state police. Troopers Hunter, Herman, Hartman, and Stone arrived in a half hour, and together with a posse of 15 citizens, they returned to the farmhouse, which was deserted. The body was turned over to County Coroner L.U. Zach, who is conducting an independent investigation. Troop indicted as murderer of York County officer. York, August 26, 1929. The grand jury at 10:57 a.m. returned the true bill against Jacob Troop, charged with the murder on May 21, 1929, of Curtis Sowers, motorcycle officer of North York, who had gone to Troop's home in Bald Hills to assist in arresting Troop for stealing a calf. Troop was arraigned at once and pleaded not guilty. He probably will be placed on trial late today. After the shooting, Troop led a posse of several score of state police, state highway patrolmen, local authorities, and residents on a spectacular manhunt through the wildest parts of York County. Several times he was sighted and fired at, but always escaped. Unexpectedly, he would appear at an isolated farmhouse and at the point of a gun force the farmer's family to give him food, threatening death if they reported his whereabouts. Finally, he surrendered voluntarily. Troop will get a hearing Friday. Jacob Troop, 30, Bald Hills, charged with the murder of Curtis Sowers, North York motorcycle officer, will be given a hearing probably Friday afternoon before Alderman Walter F. Owen in York. Coroner L.U. Zach will hold his inquest in the case Friday night at 7:30 in the grand jury room. The gun with which Troop said he killed Sowers was found after a long search late yesterday, hidden in corn fodder in the Troop barn. It had been placed there by William Troop, the alleged slayer's brother, after he met Troop last Thursday. To reverse their former testimony, didn't threaten to kill the policeman, they insist, at York trial. A complete reversal of the previous testimony of 3 of the major witnesses of the Commonwealth in the trial of Jacob Troop, charged with the murder of motorcycle policeman Curtis D. Sowers, this morning brought about a cross-examination by the district attorney with the avoided intention of discrediting them. Admitting that before the coroner's jury they had said that they had heard Jacob Troop make threats to kill the first policeman who tried to arrest him, Walter Troop and Hazel Troop said today that they never heard their half-brother make a statement. Say they were scared. I was scared. Each one of these witnesses gave us the reason for their testimony before the coroner concerning the alleged threats by the prisoner. This was amplified by Virgie, who declared on the stand today, "They had me scared, and I didn't know what to say. The state police said that if we didn't say the name as Pat Norman Wire, we'd all be locked up." Later, E.J. Hunter, John Heisman, and Carl Hartman, the state police who were at the Troop home during the night of the murder, were asked to stand up, and each of the witnesses declared that none of them were struck Wire. Virgie Troop in her testimony said that the striking of Wire was by Caleb Altland, the constable who went with Sowers, Eisenheiser, and Benzel to the Troop to arrest Troop. 4 of the witnesses called for the trial of Jacob Troop for the killing on May 21st, last of Curtis D. Sowers, North York motorcycle policeman, had given their testimony before Judge Ray P. Sherwood's court adjourned yesterday afternoon until 9:30 o'clock this morning. The 49th chairman called for examination, being the 12th juror accepted. Many of those examined told the court that they are opposed to the capital punishment. This is in contrast to the recent trial of the 3 witchcraft slayers. Story of the killing. The story of the killing is a substance the same that the published at the time of the occurrence. Constable Caleb Altland explaining today to the jury how he, Sowers, Eisenhower, and Raymond Betzel had gone to the Troop home in the Bald Hills to serve a warrant for stealing a calf on Troop, and the firing of a shotgun, which upon investigation disclosed that Sowers had been put to death. Troop, it is contended, in escaping from a rear door of the house, fired the fatal shot, and then, for 5 days, remained hidden in the hills, while state police, deputy sheriffs, other officers, and citizens hunted for him. Other witnesses heard where Eisenheiser and Betzel said C.M. Baker, Amixville Justice of the Peace, who told of the making of the information against Troop for calf stealing and insurance of a warrant for his arrest. James G. Glessner, a former district attorney who was defending Troop, closely cross-examined. Fear's shadow of the chair, less than bullets. Jacob Trout tells of his frightful experience eluding posse. Smiling and apparently unconcerned that he is in the shadow of the electric chair because of the slaying of Curtis Sowers, North York patrolman at the Bald Hills last Tuesday, Jacob Trout, 30, Bald Hills admitted slayer, handcuffed to State Trooper Hartman, was taken back to York today to face a charge of murder. A hearing will probably be held Friday. First, the State Police Corporal Snyder and Patrolman Hunter, accompanying Hartman, took Troop to the scene of the murder, where Troop showed the officers where he threw his gun at Red Bank, a short distance from his home. Then he was taken to York. "I was afraid they might shoot me," Trout said, "or I would have come in before. I was trying to give myself up Thursday when they started to shoot, and I got scared and ran." Troop traveled 2 miles that afternoon over mountains and through dense brush before he lay down, tired and hungry, under a thick growth of pines, while heavily armed state police passed within a few hundred yards of his holding place. "I heard someone rap at the door Tuesday, and I told Virgie, my sister, to lock it while I got a gun and went to the rear door. I thought it was some fellows from Virginia who threatened to shoot my old man," he explained. "When I opened the door, I saw the barrel of a revolver, and a voice said, 'I'm going to shoot you full of holes.' I said, 'Don't shoot.' But the voice answered, 'I'm going to shoot.' And then I fired and ran away." Slept in driftwood. "I went up the creek, past Bellwings Bridge, and slept the night in some driftwood along the stream. The next morning I waded across the Conewago below Flash Dam and climbed Creek Hill, spending the night there. The next morning I came down the hill and walked through the fields for about a mile until I was on Hoff Hill. Here I stayed until near dark and came down to the road. I saw my brother Will there, and I yelled to him, and he came over, and I told him to bring me something to eat, and that I would be under the cherry tree back of our house on the hill. He came an hour later and brought sweet fried potatoes, bread, and a jar of water. I lay under the tree, and he talked to me for 5 minutes before he went back to the house. It was dark, and he carried the food in his hands. He told me that they were gunning for me and that the man I shot was dead. He said, 'Herman Hughes and Radabaugh are looking for you with guns.' Both of these men are neighbors. He didn't tell me the man I shot was an officer. Frightened by shots. I stayed there that night watching the house and most of Friday, and then I saw 2 officers coming near me, and I ran, and they fired at me, and I got scared and ran all the faster. I crossed the bridge and went up the side of the creek to a pine thicket on Ed Simmons' farm, where I spent Friday night. The next day I walked over to the place near Newburytown and asked for something to eat. He gave me some butter bread, 2 cups of coffee, and a little meat. That is the first I ate since Thursday night when my brother fed me. I slept in a field that night, and the next day I lay there waiting for nightfall. Finally, when it was nearly dark, I started for Clem Toomey's, my brother-in-law, to give myself up. I walked along the road sometimes, and several others passed me, but no one stopped. When I got to Clem's at Yoakumtown, my sister opened the door. "I want to see Clem," I told her. "I want to give up." Clem came in, and I told him to call the police at Harrisburg. He did, and this man, pointing to Sergeant Austin, and another man came and got me. Troop said he slept at the bare grounds 4 nights, and that the bed at the police barracks here was fine. He was given a big meal, and when the officers brought him and talked readily, answering all questions. He admitted that he and 2 others had stolen 2 heifers, and Albert Toomey had taken them to Hummelstown, where they were sold for $25. He also admitted escaping from officers in Greenbrier County, Virginia, after hitting a man in a bowling alley. He declares he walked the entire distance from Virginia to his home, arriving here 3 weeks ago. Trapp declares that he thought the men who came last Thursday were from Virginia. And that brings me to the end of the articles that I have. If you're interested in learning more about this case, the state police have records of it. Anytime that a police officer is killed in the line of duty, you can find a lot of information about it online. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to bringing you episode 6 sometime this week or next week. Thank you. Hi everybody, welcome to season 1, episode 5 of Nightcap with a true crime recap. I'm your host, Dominish Schmiller. I just want to take a second to thank everybody. With 4 episodes in 18 days, we have reached 100 downloads of this podcast, so that's tracking really well. So I'm really excited about the future of this podcast. Today we're going back to the Bald Hills, and we're going to talk about a police officer's murder.